Hey, what's up, everybody? Just waiting for the numbers to go up for people to come over here. Looks like the notifications are going out, and we'll get started in a couple of seconds. Already people coming in. Yeah, give this a thumbs up. That sends more people over here. Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. So yeah, we'll give this 30 seconds, and then we'll get started. 30-second warm up here so everybody has time to come over. Yep, get the numbers up. Looks like it's happening. Looks like we're going to have a good Sunday stream. It's happening, folks. And yesterday, some MAGA grandmother said, if you're gonna criticize Trump, maybe you should leave social media again. No, maybe you should find another channel. After being silenced for 8 years, I'm totally comfortable sharing my views. I don't think I'm the best when it comes to investing in stuff, but I'm certainly good, and I certainly know how to read the chart. And my big calls like Bitcoin and Ethereum, some of the quantum companies I made money from, quantum chips, I know I'm good. I know I'm good at picking the right racehorse. And that's why I find this tariff thing so insane for people with no economic background to say it's great. It's actually great that our stock market is $10 trillion down from where it was in January. If that's a good thing. There was some guy who went viral on Twitter. He said he voted for Trump, but he has nothing in life to look forward to, no success, no money. And he's cheering this market collapse because he sees it as a cleansing fire so we can start fresh. Is that what people voted for? A cleansing fire so that America has no money anymore? Even if you don't own stocks, the stock market is the wealth of the country. And some of these folks are asking me, are you paid by Soros to do these live streams? No, still haven't received the Soros check. I'm still waiting. But you know who had his paycheck signed for years by George Soros? Not an exaggeration. You want to know who was paid for years by George Soros and who was his lieutenant when Soros attacked the Bank of England and made more than $1 billion? Speculative attack on the Bank of England. And then he did the same thing to the Japanese yen. You know who his right-hand man was during those years? Scott Bessent, Trump's Treasury Secretary. This blows my mind. The man who is pushing the tariff vision, the collapse America and let's start fresh when nobody has any money. You'll own nothing and be miserable. The guy pushing this, again, if it was so important, why wasn't Trump obsessed with this in his first term? This is the brainchild of Soros's former right-hand man, Scott Bessent, who is in charge of our country's Treasury Department. If that doesn't freak you out, I don't know what will. So again, you got these folks like Tim in the troll box. Tim in the troll box doesn't see me for me. He's just some NPC. He's threatened by what I'm saying. What I'm saying is a fact. You can look it up. The man running our Treasury Department and who Trump has put his faith in for this disastrous tariff thing was Soros's former right-hand man for years, was literally managing George Soros's money. He was the fund manager of Soros Fund Management, or whatever his holding company is called. You can look this up. You can fact check me. That is outrageous. It's insane. It's outrageous. And again, to say to me, oh, when did you get that check from Soros? Nope, I'm still waiting. And the millions of protesters this weekend, I don't think every single one of them is paid. I think actually a lot of Americans are upset. We wanted a takedown of the Epstein Island people. It's been now months, not one arrest. And Kash Patel said he would turn the FBI field office in Washington. He said he would turn it into a deep state museum the first day he took office. That's not what happened. He talks of how amazing the FBI is every day. We got played there. He's not a reformer. He's an institutionalist. He's kissing the FBI's ass every day. So he's not reforming it. He's not shutting down the field office in DC and turning it into a museum. It's a nice little talking point, but he's just another owned guy. Just another guy who's never going to get to the bottom of the Epstein stuff. If it's the last thing left on earth for law enforcement to do, they still won't do it. Sorry, the truth is never coming on Podesta and Epstein and all these blackmail rings. We'll never hear the truth. We'll never get to the bottom of it. But yeah, this guy, Tim, is just somebody who doesn't see me for me. And like Nick Fuentes said on a recent live stream, you don't want to associate with losers. I completely agree with Fuentes on this point. You don't want to associate with losers, not in your personal life, not in your professional life, and not in your politics, in your political movement. You don't want to bring losers into the tent. We don't need losers, and we don't want them guiding our movement. And cheering for American stocks to collapse is what losers do. Losers with no skin in the game. And for Trump to be instigating this anti-stock thing is so retarded. Again, George Soros's protege is the man running this. Why did Trump choose as Treasury Secretary a man who worked for Soros for decades? Make it make sense, because I don't understand it. Unless he's a total controlled opposition double agent or a dummy. I don't understand it. And I have the right to criticize my president. The guy last week said that he said the market was about to boom, right? They asked him about Liberation Day. What is Liberation Day? Can you tell us anything about it? The market's going to boom. That's what he said. And on the basis of those words, I put some money into the stock market. Not every dollar I have, I didn't get wiped out to some crazy extent. But I put some money in. I listened to my president. And then his Liberation Day, was it the announcement of no more income taxes? No. In fact, he's streamlining and modernizing the IRS. And as some people have said online, if you plan to outlaw personal income taxes, why are you modernizing the IRS? It seems like giving them new collection systems doesn't make a lot of sense if you plan to shut down income taxes. So maybe he's a liar. Maybe he's a complete liar. So I thought Liberation Day would be the announcement of, again, maybe a tax jubilee, no income taxes for a year or two, or maybe get rid of it altogether, or maybe announce no capital gains on investing in American companies if you hold your stock for more than 2 years or something, or no capital gains on crypto sales, which would bring more crypto into the United States. I thought it'd be something cool like that. Instead, Liberation Day was Trump holding up some retarded chart of numbers that, if instituted, would completely collapse the world economy. Like, no question, no doubt. It's not in dispute. Numbers so brutal that the world economy would collapse. And in the minutes and hours after that announcement, after that presentation by President Trump, Liberation Day, we were liberated of more than $2 trillion that day. So that's why I'm upset about that, is I wasn't the only Trump supporter who put money into the market when Trump said things are about to boom. I'll never listen to this president again. The guy's a grifter. It's the market manipulating grifter. Again, no Epstein Island progress. No John Podesta progress. No answers for the COVID era and all the civil rights abuses we experienced. Fauci is more free and wealthy than ever. But instead, we get a market collapse. I've never seen an American president gunning for the stock market like this before. Even Obama was never this communist. This is like right-wing communism. I realize that's a paradox. Obama didn't go on TV and try to collapse the stock market. No one has done this. This is the biggest unforced error in U.S. history. And the people saying, Dave, you should wait and see. No, it's been 3 months. I've given it enough time. I've waited 3 months. So what we've seen since January is more than $10 trillion has left the market. Money's vaporized. And that will have an impact on jobs and stuff. Not immediately, but it does because there's less money now. $10 trillion loss since January. And this was the guy that was supposed to be so good for the American worker and for the American household. The average American household has way less money than they did before Trump took office. And so, no, I'm not happy. And I have a right to speak. And these culties who say I don't have a right to speak and tell me to find Jesus, I'll find Jesus when I'm dead. I'll have plenty of time to figure Jesus out when I'm dead. Right now, I want to say my say. I have an active mind. Again, I'm maybe not the best investor in the world, but I'm quite good. And I know this is disastrous, which is why I'm saying it's disastrous. John Cardillo, who's really big in MAGA, he's a former NYPD cop. This guy Cardillo, a lot of people follow him. On Twitter, he said, Trump is a human being. He's not a god. He's a man. He makes mistakes, and it's fine to call him out on those mistakes. And some of the people in the MAGA base found that tweet to be so profound, like it blew their minds. Oh my God, Trump is a human being. He's not an infallible saint. He's quite fallible, right? Following Soros's right-hand man off of a fucking cliff is not what our country needs right now. Fire Scott Bessent. Get literally anybody who's not Janet Yellen or Soros's right-hand man. Get anybody whose career record doesn't include years working in the Soros office. Get rid of this other guy, Howard Lutnick, this opportunist in there trying to crash the market, just like he did at Cantor Fitzgerald. The guy's a market manipulator. He needs to resign. He needs to get the fuck out of there. People telling me to cash out. I already entered an order to sell about 75% of my stock tomorrow. So you people shitting on the American investor and saying I'm a horrible person for calling out Trump on this. Hey, things are about to change. I'm out 75% tomorrow. I'm probably not the only investor who feels this way. I won't be insulted as I'm losing a fuckload of money and then being told this is what we need. Sacrifice. Are you folks communists? Sacrifice? Why do we have to lose money so that Trump can be proven right on something that's totally wrong? Right? Because if it was the right thing, it wouldn't cost us $10 trillion. You could import every t-shirt manufacturing job on the planet. You could steal every single garment job making t-shirts and making sneakers and glasses and shit. You could pull all that back from China and all that back from Asia. You pull it all back to the United States, it still doesn't equal $10 trillion. It's still not $10 trillion in jobs. I mean, we got effed since January, and the charts reflect it. And Jim Cramer is saying this week could be like a Black Monday event. So 1987 Black Monday, the market gapped. It gapped during the weekend, right? It collapsed like immediately. And then when the market opened on Monday, it was just this disastrous slide. I think 22% drop in one day. But no, so the amount of money that Trump lost on Liberation Day, again, I thought he'd end the income tax or do something cool. Instead, now we're double taxed. Now every piece of technology we own is going to cost 50% more in the near future. And on top of that, we still have to pay income tax. I mean, how are Republicans, how are conservatives cheering for this? I don't know. More taxes, everything's more expensive, and our retirement accounts are blown up. And this is 5D chess. Oh, David, just wait. I've been waiting the last fucking 8 years. How much longer do I have to wait? Been waiting for arrests. I've been waiting for the mainlining of an economy that's not just the Fed and the ECB. Like, how much longer do I have to be silent and wait? I'm sick of being told that by MAGA boomers. Find Jesus and wait. No, fuck you. And I'm not alone in this view. I've never seen an American president attack the stock market like this before. I mean, I've never entertained all those psycho libtard stuff about Trump being a Russian asset. I've never entertained any of that garbage. This is like we lost a world war. As somebody was saying yesterday, this is like we lost a world war and Trump is instituting the reparations to make everybody happy, right? It's like he's just bending over to the rest of the world. When you collapse your own stock market, it doesn't help you, it hurts you. So you'll see their margin calls on Monday, tomorrow. Hedge funds get margin calls because they use borrowed money. And when their stocks go below a certain value, they have to sell. And that could crash everything. And people saying, oh, money is just made up. Oh, that's a very conservative notion. The money that those of us who've worked hard for our whole lives, it's made up. Okay. Maybe you're in the wrong party. Maybe you belong with the Luigi leftists. We voted for this, someone says. You voted for a market collapse? Then you're not very smart. You voted for a market collapse. And what's funny is, so I have 130,000 subscribers. Obviously, I don't know all of you personally. It's a lot of people. I don't know you guys all personally. That's like 2 football fields of people. But I noticed there's some very smart, discerning people out there. And there are some who are just total culties. I would never be a cultie for the left. When John Podesta is sending emails about pizza and attaching pictures of little girls, or his contacts are attaching pictures of little girls and sending it to him, and they're saying great pizza and all this shit. I'll never be convinced by leftoids that there was not something to that scandal, because I'm not in their cult. And in much the same way, I'll never be convinced that it was awesome for Trump to tank the stock market and cause a lot of older people who are going to retire this year. Now that's a distant dream. Maybe they'll retire in 10 years. So to give you an idea of how much money that is, when the stock market reopened after 9/11, after the towers went down, it was a loss of about $1.4 trillion in today's money. So Trump managed to knock off $2 trillion. And he's a man. He's not a terrorist attack. He's not a virus. He's one man in Washington, D.C., and he wiped $2 trillion in a day. That's bad policy. If you're losing Americans that much money, it means your shit's fucked up and you got to go back to the drawing board. There's a reason why no other president has tried to tariff the whole world. It doesn't work. No, this is not Trump derangement syndrome. I'm being calm and polite. I supported Trump over Kamala. How dare you? How dare you be such an NPC? I supported Trump over Kamala. I put out videos before the election that probably moved the needle in some tiny way. And I don't like seeing our country going down the fucking gutter like this. This is garbage. This is not what I expected. Where are the arrests? Why don't you care? If you're so religious based on your username, why don't you care that all the Epstein Island people are still free? Why doesn't that bother you? Why doesn't it bother you that John Podesta is still out there completely free, probably watching this fucking live stream? Why doesn't that bother you? You just got to agree with everything Trump does. The tariffs are already a disaster. $10 trillion. Again, that's more than 5 9/11s. We've lost more than 5 9/11s worth of market value. But we haven't even been attacked. Haven't even been attacked. Just bad policy. Just dumb shit. Just listening to Mike Lindell. What's the other guy? Steve Bannon. It's like Bannon went to federal prison. I can understand why he doesn't like the establishment. I can understand why he wants to burn everything to the ground. Burn it all to the ground is not, it's not coherent political messaging. Again, that's loser stuff. We don't want losers in our movement. These people celebrating the market collapse are losers. These people saying, well, I own nothing anyways, and I have no family, and I have no money, and I have no job. Well, then you're a loser. Sorry. The stock market isn't treating you like cattle. How is it treating you like cattle? And that social security number stuff, that's not true. That's beyond QAnon garbage. These people think the social security number is some kind of slave number. And if you send a letter to the Federal Reserve and say, hey, I figured it out, the social security number, that they give you millions of dollars, that there's millions of dollars somewhere on the Federal Reserve's books. And all you got to do is send them the letter saying you figured it out. That's dumb shit. That's super dumb shit. Please see yourself out. I don't want a follower like that. I really don't. Yeah, this is we're dealing with the cult. To say that losing $10 trillion is not only good, but you should like it. You should like the sacrifice. No, sacrifice shouldn't be a word in American politics. We shouldn't have to do more for you after we got you back in the fucking White House. He would have been in prison otherwise. He would be in prison right now. And you thank us by tanking our investments? What the fuck? Hey, Ta, welcome. Guess you found me. So again, $10 trillion loss. You guys saying I'm bitter and stuff. How do you support this? How are you such a fucking culty that you say this is great? Do you just eat dog shit and say it's delicious? Someone says they cashed out their 401k in 2016 and bought silver and crypto. Nice. Nice. Yeah, why is it always the people with no stocks who say the stock market is a scam? Why is it always the people with 0.000 Bitcoin who are always saying that Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme? Like Fuentes said, you don't want losers in your life. I don't want losers in my feed. I don't want losers in my political movement. I'm the cult. How am I the cult? I have no cult following. I don't crash markets and then tell you it's delicious. I don't feed you dog shit and tell you it's delicious. And I haven't really been here for the last 8 years. So I think what you're saying makes no sense, really. It makes sense. Lack of imports will spur domestic production. You literally have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea what you're talking about. This notion that you can just like that you just water the ground and then like microchip factories pop up. Right? That's not how the world works. We're talking about 4 to 5 years before these production capacities actually come online. Trump will be out in 3 years. He'll be out in 3 years. I don't think America has the political resolve to support something for 5 years like this, a complete redo of the economy. That doesn't work. The countries we're buying stuff from, they're not scamming us. That's a talking point that needs to be completely debunked. When we buy cheap Chinese steel, when we voluntarily say, hey, we'll buy your steel because it's cheaper than the steel coming out of Pittsburgh, because there's a tremendous demand to build stuff with metal. When we buy it from China, there's no victim. They want to make money selling their excess steel. We need more steel than America can produce at a cheap cost. No victim. Same with the microchips. It's like we don't have all the rare earth minerals here in the United States that you need to make these microprocessors. AI and machine learning and all this stuff, it's totally the future. It's totally everything. And we don't have all the materials here. And China was happy to sell it to us. But now that we've tariffed them into oblivion, they've put controls on these rare earth minerals. They put controls on them. They don't want to keep them. They're doing it as a tit for tat with Trump. And Trump posted some TikTok video claiming that Warren Buffett thinks this is all genius. And Buffett actually put out a statement through his press secretary or whatever, through his press office. He put out a statement saying that's not true. He doesn't support this at all. In fact, in a recent television interview, Buffett said tariffs can be perceived as an act of war. So, yeah, this Trump shit with the tariffs. I didn't hear this on the campaign trail either. You culties are saying this is what Trump promised. No, it's not. I didn't hear Trump talk about this like once. I mean, he said fair trade and close the borders. Meanwhile, less deportations than under Biden. You MAGA folks, get that under your skin for a little bit. Those of you guys who want to see the borders closed and migration end, less deportations than under Biden. He's posting all these videos and stuff of the people being chain ganged, the chain gang, and then they go to El Salvador. The White House is posting this social media. It's propaganda. Meanwhile, the number of people actually being kicked the fuck out of our country is less than under Biden. Somebody says, I didn't know leveling the playing field meant going broke. Well, now you know. $10 trillion is a fucking lot of money. And we haven't necessarily felt it yet, but you will. Companies are going to start downsizing and stuff because they don't have as much resources now. When their market caps are tiny, they can't spend and they can't hire. And this leveling the playing field is, again, it's nonsense. So who's the victim when China sells us the materials we need to make microchips? Who's the victim there? We don't have the stuff in our country. It's literally in their fucking country. How are we victimized when we hand over money to get something that we don't have here? It's the basis of economics, is we don't have everything. That's why we trade. It's the whole point of trade, is you never have everything. No country has all the resources it needs. Now you can end up like North Korea. They think they've got everything, right? They think they're totally self-sufficient. And the rest of us look at them as retards because they're living 50 years behind everybody else, right? Their technology, their housing, it's all shit. That's self-sufficiency. It's shit quality stuff because you can't build it all yourself. Why is it okay for other countries to tariff us? Why is, like, the shitty policies of other countries doesn't mean we should do the same thing. And the United States is in a different position from a small country. We are one of the hubs of trade. Very different position from some company that's trying, or some country that's trying to strategically gain comparative advantage in certain industries. Totally different. A small country that, say, is focused on oranges, right? They have a lot of orange production. They might choose a tariff on the oranges because they know that's their advantage. That's their comparative advantages. They're good at growing oranges because they have the climate or whatever. But here it's like we have everything in the United States. It's software, it's labor. We have everything, and yet to close that down, it's so retarded. To hear you guys who like have no money and no economic background trying to school me, it's fucking retarded. And the results speak for themselves. Saying wait and see, I've waited 3 months to do this because I wasn't sure where things were going. I was hoping Trump was right. Now we know he was wrong. $10 trillion, the market is speaking. It's saying this is a fucking disaster. I mean, you look at the charts, the market's speaking loud and clear. And Jim Cramer, he gets individual stocks wrong. But big trends, he's sometimes right. And he says he lived through Black Monday. As a trader, he lived through it. And he sees the exact same setup now. It's the same fucking thing happening. And what's so weird is this is being caused by one man. It's one man's bad idea about just shutting down the US and taxing everything that comes in. That's not how it's done. Again, the market losses speak for themselves. If this was such great strategy, companies would be increasing in value. Instead, they're decreasing in value. And what's funny is you guys will look back on this stream in a few months and you'll be just all of you sucking me off saying, how was I so right about this? We're in a Great Depression. Seaman saw it just like he saw Bitcoin at $80 and Ethereum when they were less than a pack of gum. This isn't Trump derangement syndrome. You're literally a culty. You literally are not listening to the fucking words coming out of my mouth. I supported Trump, not Kamala. I supported him in videos, which you can look up in podcasts, not Kamala. Now, this is plain retarded. We're allowed to question our leader when his decision is dangerous and fucking retarded. We lost so much money, it's as if we lost a world war. It's foolish to depend on your enemy with regards to steel. But yeah, they're not our enemy. When we buy something voluntarily from another country, that's not an enemy. I mean, this is the retarded populism that people like Eric Schmidt warned us about. I remember more than a decade ago, Eric Schmidt was saying on some interview about how the world was going to become more balkanized, and I couldn't really see it back then. Why would we shut off China? Why would we shut off Europe? Why would we tell Europe we don't want any of your stuff? We don't want your wine. We don't want your cheese. Get the fuck out. Why would we ever say that to Europe? And now you see it. You see it all happening, the world breaking apart. America is the casino. Correct. America is the casino. So when you're a casino, you don't want to shut people out who have money in their pockets. This is the worst policy decision in my lifetime. I can't say 100 years like some of these pundits because I haven't been around for 100 years, so I don't know. But this is the worst policy decision in my life. Again, you look at the market, it's lost more than a world war. It's as if we lost World War III. And that's owning the libs, that's making us stronger. Or is it just retarded policy coming from Soros's protege? Again, I don't understand why you guys are giving me shit and not actually listening to the words coming out of my mouth. Trump's Treasury Secretary spent a lifetime working with George Soros. Do you guys like and trust George Soros? Is that the new tack for conservatives? Is you guys fucking love George Soros? I mean, this is crazy. It's the fluoridated, culty, too much fluoride, too much nationalism, too much one-way media where you're not interacting, you're just being told stuff on TV. And I think decades of that, you become kind of a retard. Some of these comments are just retarded. You're welcome to your free speech. I'm not like the people who censored me. Speak away, Like, what are some of you fucking folks talking about? Somebody says, you think 3 months will undo the damage of the international Jew from 1871 and 1913? What, 1913? That was before any of us were alive. And what the fuck are you talking about? The creation of the Federal Reserve, 1913? Yeah, I don't like the Fed. Destroying the stock market doesn't help get rid of the Fed. I sound nuts. Why are you so down on me? Why are you even here? I don't promote these. I don't promote my stuff. I was silenced for 8 years. So I'm so crazy. Again, fact check me. Trump's Treasury Secretary worked for George Soros for much of his adult life. You're fucking crazy to think that's a sound person. You're absolutely fucking crazy to trust that person with our national economic policy. Yeah, exactly. Somebody says you're calling out their Messiah and they don't like it. There's nothing more unchristian than this false prophet stuff. Trump is an overweight boomer with big orange hands. And if you can't hear that, it's a sign you're in a cult. I chose Trump over Kamala because he was the better of the two options, in my opinion. I think he ran a totally untraditional campaign. I think he ran a brilliant campaign because he knew the alternative was he was going to prison. Not figuratively going to prison. They were actually in the process of sentencing him. So he, out of desperation and self-interest, ran an incredible campaign. And I've credited him for coming through for the Bitcoin community with the Bitcoin reserve and all that. I've done videos, celebrating him for that. But there's more to the world than Bitcoin. And this is disastrous. This is such an unforced error. Again, it's like, why do you want American investors to lose all their money? That doesn't help things. And this weird fetish the right now has of let's bring all the t-shirt manufacturing here. Again, I didn't realize this is what the right wants more than anything is the textile market. You really want to bring textile manufacturing back to the US? It left for a reason. These aren't high-wage jobs. And when they're in the US, they're not going to be high-wage either because Americans aren't willing to pay $150 for a t-shirt. That's what it comes down to, is if you pay people $20 an hour and the t-shirts cost $150, you're not going to sell t-shirts, not in America, not anywhere. And so we export labor, and to say that we're being screwed on that is just wrong. It's just dumb. Again, when we buy steel from China, it's not only a victimless situation, it's good for us. We don't have all the capacity. We don't have everything here. When we buy lumber from Canada, that's good for us because we don't have limitless forests to cut down. A lot of our land is protected by the federal land stuff, right? The national parks, which I agree with. I think that's important to preserve a big part of the country. But yeah, Canada has the lumber. Why not buy their lumber with our strong dollar and truck it down here? Another thing where there's no victim. See, you're in a cult. Didn't know this guy was so un-American. What's un-American about me? I have millions of dollars in American companies. I spend nearly all my time in America. I was born here. What's un-American about me? No, you're just literally in a cult and you're defending the most egregious fucking theft of people's money. Like, what's good about this? He hasn't ended the income tax. He's cratered the stock market, which half of Americans have exposure to. This 10% fact is totally made up. It's about half of people. Half of people either have like an E-Trade account or they have a retirement account through work. And those things are connected to stocks. What are you holding in your retirement account? Stocks. Oh, there we go. That doesn't work on me. That doesn't work on me at all. Is that Christian behavior? Is that Christian behavior to say that? I don't think so. I'm not insulting you guys. You're insulting me. These comments about, oh, just an angry Jew. I don't see myself as a Jew at all. I have a Christian mother. She's Episcopalian. I don't see myself as a Jew. I never got a bar mitzvah. I never learned Hebrew. I have a Christian mom. I celebrate Christmas. I celebrate Easter. I hope to meet Jesus when I'm dead. I don't see your point. And many of the Jews I've met in my life, I've found to be not great people, especially ones from Israel. It's been my personal experience. They've not been great people. And when I was living in the Midwest and stuff, I never really saw anti-Semitism. And like most of the anti-Semitism is online. I never felt like America was an unsafe place, and it still isn't. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a squirrelier community at the moment than the American Jew, right? So to label me as that, I don't really see where you're coming from. It feels kind of malicious and dishonest. Seems kind of malicious and dishonest, And my personal view is most of the spiritual people I've come across, they got they got to where they are through either like near-death experiences or certain chemicals, certain psychedelics and stuff. I think there's a beyond out there. I think there's more to life than what we can see and feel in the present, right? So people who had a very visceral near-death experience, some of these people become religious afterwards. And I see that as a very different kind of religious from people just saying, oh, there's the Jew. Again, I realize because I have some Hungarian in me and other European stuff that I look a little bit Jewish. But again, Christian mom, I celebrate Christ, Christmas, Easter. I don't celebrate Jewish holidays. I don't go to synagogue. I've never been to Israel. So I think your characterization of me is completely weird, completely bizarre. Again, I've waited 3 months to decide on the tariffs and the $10 trillion down. That's made up my mind. This is disastrous garbage. And even Warren Buffett says it's like an act of war. So the opposite of what these pro-Trump TikToks are saying. Warren Buffett is not in favor of this. It's probably why he sold his stocks, as he saw. What's really cringe is celebrating disastrous policy. Not having a mind of your own is cringe. Just criticizing the president after he fucked us out of a lot of money last week. That's not cringe. That's what people in a free civilization do. He's not my God. He's just the guy, just a big old orange boomer, self-interested, does some stuff right, does some stuff wrong. He's just a human being. What about my dad? My dad was not religious. My dad did not go to synagogue. He just wasn't a religious guy. He found his religion out on the ocean. He's a big ocean sailor. He found it in nature, And again, some of these people have such a low vibe that I don't find it spiritual. I don't find it religious. I think it's kind of the opposite of true spiritual connection or true, connection to God. Why do I hate America? It seems like you folks cheering for a stock market collapse and labeling anybody who disagrees with you dirty Jews. It seems like you're the ones who hate America because you're against all our values. Actually, property ownership is cool. Actually, having money is cool. Actually, stocks are cool. Markets are not the economy. Yes, they are, though. This is... Markets are not the economy. It's like saying gas stations are not where you get gas. Grocery stores are not for buying food. Bars are not where you drink. Airplanes are not for traveling. And notice I haven't blocked a single one of these people. I feel like Jane Goodall, right? I'm just observing. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. I should get my binoculars out. All the broke-ass trolls arguing against the rich guy. So I said this the other day. I think most journalists become leftoids because they go through this period of not having money. Right? They're like scribes in New York or LA, and they're not making any money, and they feel like capitalism is some kind of grift. And all the ideology they're bumping up against is just angry leftist stuff, right? But that's, if you're a smart enough person, you see there's nothing for us. The left has nothing for us. And so I am kind of the opposite. My life experiences unexpected prosperity from Bitcoin and a couple of other things. Unexpected prosperity and having skin in the game. It's led me to believe that actually it's cool to take risk. It's cool to let individuals invest instead of just banks and governments. It's one of the greatest parts of modern life, actually, is that as a human being, as an adult, you can invest just like the big boys. And if you get things right often enough, you become one of them, or you get close. That's amazing to me. That level of social mobility is completely amazing. And so I think the left gets it wrong. I think you actually want to celebrate success. You want to celebrate and preserve people's property once they get something. And this tear it all down, just let's watch the world burn, it doesn't vibe with me. It's just like Nick said, you don't want to associate with losers. Like this isn't what we want our movement to be. And it's not too late if Trump hears from enough of us who supported him. It's not too late for him to just change his mind. The damage is not permanent. Pretty soon it becomes permanent. But these tariffs, the beauty of them is he could just say, we're reversing it. It's not, it's not done by Congress. It's being done by Trump. Maybe I will block you. Are you a real reverend? Do people actually listen to you on topics of religion? Oh, Jim Jones, I see. It's a fake username. But why are you trying to why are you trying to aggravate me? You know so little about me, and you keep trying to cast everything I say in some weird little container. I don't know. To each their own. Like I said, I'm not going to block you guys. That's what was done to me, as I called out some powerful people and was silenced for 8 years. I'm not a powerful person, just a little guy sitting in my high rise, hanging out with my friends, or at least I thought you guys were my friends. So no, I'm not going to do the same thing. Let your words reveal what you are. But no, I don't mind explaining my religious views, because I think that Judaism lately, there's something happening in America that's not healthy, right? You should be allowed to criticize people without being deported or losing your access to the college you go to and all this stuff. I think you should be able to criticize policies, and certainly the policies of other countries, and certainly what are basically desert cults. You should be able to criticize these things without your own government coming after you. And constantly playing victim when you're one of the world aggressors is so disgusting. So no, I see a lot of what the right says about this ADL type censorship stuff. It's disgusting. I agree, right? It's like you shouldn't have an ethnic group telling the rest of us that we can't criticize them, especially when they're connected to a country that's doing a crazy amount of warmongering. Do you think the average American would benefit if housing prices come down? Sure, as long as the market doesn't collapse in tandem. So if everybody has no money, but houses are 50% off, you still can't buy a house, right? And these people who think that a market collapse would open up the real estate market, it's like saying an asteroid hitting New York City would be great because now everybody can get an apartment who didn't have one before. It's that silly. You know, it's like there's an equilibrium, and if people don't have money, they can't get a mortgage. If you don't have assets, you don't have income, you're not going to get a mortgage, you're not going to get a house. So people think that everything re-rates in this way where it's just easier to buy everything. It's not. If you have a shit economy and you don't have an income, you aren't treated well by lenders. They're not going to give you the money to buy that house. You seem like threatened by me, dude. David is forming his own cult. Like, you actually seem malicious. It seems like you're really kind of out to get me. It's weird. Maybe I will block you. You're not worth my time. Go ahead and call me a dirty Jew. You know, you can call me that all you want, but you can't take my words out of context because that makes you boring and weird. And people thought you were ridiculous. So it sounds like you didn't have many peers in the troll box. Yeah, I agree with you there. No dual citizens in Congress. This is outrageous. When you see these members of Congress and they have the Israeli flag next to the US flag in their office, like, when did that become acceptable? Would you have a flag of the European Union or China's flag as a member of Congress? Absolutely, I think you should be banned from being a public representative if you hold dual citizenship. Either an American or you're not, you know? Yeah, Rusty's right. AI is going to take a lot of the jobs anyway. So to think that there's some great manufacturing era ahead for Americans, we bring the jobs back. These factories don't require that many people to run, and increasingly it will be all automated. Cult of reality, right? I'm starting a cult of reality. Like, everything I'm saying can be easily confirmed. Did Trump choose as his Treasury Secretary Soros' former fund manager? Yes. Fact check, true. And is this man the one who is masterminding this disastrous market collapse of pushing tariffs through willy-nilly? Yes, also true. Somebody says, I don't want a terrible factory job. There's that too. Like, many of our ancestors had jobs like this, and their dream was for us to have a way out. You know, these people telling me that they want to go back to an 1850s economy, non-ironically telling me, David, don't you understand? Trump is trying to take us back to the 1850s. Is that really where we want to be? Steam engines and hot air balloons, a bunch of goofy shit. Is that really where we want to be when the people in the 1850s would have given anything to be in 2025? Right? You're the wealthiest person alive in 1855. You get a choice: either stay there, either stay in 1855, or we'll give you a time machine ticket to 2025. But you lose all your money and social status. Right? You're no longer a millionaire in the 1850s who owns a bunch of factories. You're now just the middle-class nobody in 2025. That guy would take that deal in a heartbeat. He gets access to airplanes and internet. The world is so different now, right? And he's not going to die of some simple infection. We have antibiotics. Yeah, this notion that we go back to some steampunk kind of era. We don't need to re-industrialize. It's dumb. America has the reserved currency for us to trade what we have now for some dirty factory jobs, and then you get the pollution. Let China deal with all that. Let China deal with all the downsides of having the manufacturing right there. Yeah, definitely. We got some brainworms. We got some massive brainworms out there. And it's sad that the brainworms are now targeting the right. I see no harm in criticizing how retarded some people are because we already won the election. We won the election. Now it's time to make sure Trump doesn't destroy the economy. Because I would certainly prefer to see Epsteinites go to prison. Would prefer to see Pam Bondi put a bunch of Epstein pedos in prison versus Trump crashing the economy and his weird influencers on Twitter making it sound like it's great. We all need to sacrifice. Why? I don't think we need to sacrifice anything. Someone on Twitter says there was going to be one no matter who you voted for. They needed to get off the petrol dollar. You folks don't know what you're talking about. Crashing the stock market doesn't get us off the petrodollar. We still need oil as much as we did the day before. Oh, and then he says, I'm sorry, David, you showed what you are. Aw, I'm going to have to block you. That's gay and it's fake and it's weird. Every single one of you guys who says I've revealed what I am, you're fake and gay and weird. I'll be right back. These people are acting like they were dating you, right? Like some personal betrayal here. Again, 130,000 subscribers. I think some of you guys are very smart. 130,000, that's 2 football fields of people. I don't know all of you personally. It's some weird parasocial relationship where you've consumed hours of my content. So you think you know me, but you've spent no time with me in real life, right? So I don't really know you. It's a one-way street. And so it's unfair to me to be like, you've betrayed me, David. I don't even fucking know you. I'm just expressing my views because I truly think losing $10 trillion is a fail. I think that's a fail. I think losing money is bad. I think being a loser is bad. Again, my experiences have led me to believe that money and right-wing views are more correct than leftist views. Maybe I'm wrong, but in social life, I'd rather require less from you, and they're less likely to scam you. They're less likely to take something from you because they don't really need anything. Yep, cracking a brewski. Because I'm not crashing out here. This is not a crash out. This is a lock in. I'm locking in. I'm answering your questions. I'm expressing myself. Hey, I appreciate that, Justin. Do you know if there's any gold in Fort Knox? Yeah, what happened to that? Why did Trump drop the ball on that? Things I want. Explanation for all the UFOs in New Jersey. He said he would give us that on day one. He never did. You go back to my old videos, I was excited because he said the truth about the orbs in New Jersey. They know and they're not telling us. Remember, Trump was so angry. They know what they are. They're not telling us. I'll tell you on day one. Never did. The UFOs went away and we're no wiser. We've learned nothing. We learned nothing from that weird mass sighting in New Jersey. No answers from Trump. Epstein Island, all these people should be in a fucking chain gang headed to El Salvador. Why aren't they? Why isn't every single person who was on Epstein Island to abuse kids, why aren't they just chained up and shipped out to El Salvador? Let the prison system down there deal with them. Well, you're getting crazy again. I was reading some of your comments for a little bit. Now you're getting crazy. Somebody says David has had a cushy life off the blood of American soldiers. That is so bizarre. Explain yourself. How have I had a cushy life off the blood of American soldiers? Let's see. My grandfather fought in World War II. He fought for America in World War II. He was in the military. Wow. Are you like a scammer or a bot or something? Because that person said, I just tuned in. You've been here the whole time. You've been here the whole time. Again, how am I living a good life off the blood of American soldiers? I have family who served in the military. Some of you MAGAs just say totally bullshit things, totally sad bullshit things. So actually that offends me. That offends me 100 times more than trying to Jew hunt me. That actually offends me. So I'm going to hide you. You're now seen by nobody. You're back to who you were before. You're nobody. Off topic, but are you going to see the Minecraft movie? I've seen some reviews calling it the worst movie of all time, so I think maybe I should get a little baked and watch it just for a little self torture there. But yeah, is there something to the Minecraft movie? I honestly wasn't planning on seeing it, but if it's that bad, I might have to. But yeah, they compromise these people with the Epstein type stuff. And then they run our government. And we say, hey, can you just give us like a little hint of coming transparency? Sure, $10 trillion market collapse. Okay, thank you. Why are people so mad about one man's opinion? I think there's something malicious going on here. I really do. And some of you guys are noticing it. Like, I'm a nobody. I wasn't even here for 8 years. My impact is minimal. I don't think, like, when this goes up on my channel, it's going to be viewed by probably 800 people, 800 to 1,000 people total. That's like the size of a high school, that doesn't move the needle. It doesn't impact thoughts about Trump's policies. It won't cause Trump to change his mind. Just the man speaking to my fans and friends on a Sunday. And to label me some Zionist Jew and say I'm fucking dancing around over American soldiers' bloody bodies and stuff, it's a little bit much. Feels a little malicious. And again, I don't think I'm the smartest, but I do think when it comes to money stuff, I've gotten very good. And this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. To have this kind of market drop being caused by nothing other than policy. Hey, it's a sign the policy is bad, right? If this were Joe Biden, little thought experiment here. If this were Biden and he came out with some tariff policy that everybody on the left loved, said, ooh, this would make things more fair. Then if the stock market would be down $10 trillion 3 months later, every single person on the right would be calling for his resignation. Every single one of them. And then like calling me a beta male because I'm worried about this insane attack on the stock market. Actually having no money is beta. Actually just tying all your hopes to some fat boomer in DC, hoping he gives you a job making t-shirts one day. That's kind of beta to me. Phil says his crypto portfolio is hurting. I've seen some interesting analysis that bit might be done for a while. Um, I don't want to I don't want to be negative because I remain very hopeful, but I feel like it's kind of hit a saturation point. Seaman, do you think a material universe exists outside of human observation via consciousness, or do you think it is more like a computer simulation? Uh, Good question. See, this is what I prefer to think about. I didn't realize so many people would be calling me a traitor and all this craziness for just saying losing $10 trillion is not good. It's not a good sign. Okay, let's game this one out. Do I think there's a material universe? All signs, all visible signs point to yes, right? But I think no. I think I think the entire thing is simulated in a sense. Um, so hope that answers your question. I think it's entirely simulated, and I think things like the speed of light are basically processing limits or travel limits. Uh, and so, like when you're born and as you live your life, everything you experience, from like a paper cut to your first kiss to getting sick or getting drunk, everything you experience leads you to believe that you're a physical entity. You're some biological creation that sprung up, and that because your brain has enough neurons, they've all chatted, and consciousness has somehow sprung up from this neuronal network. That's what the evidence shows, right? But I think that's actually totally wrong. I think that's it's designed to look like that in a sense, right? Like everything is most likely a quantum simulation. So if you take as a given that within 100 years we will have quantum computers that are strong enough to create whole fake universes, or you could populate a fake universe with a bunch of fake people, and they wouldn't know they're fake. They would just live their lives. And you could sort of watch the results on your laptop and see, ooh, how did this civilization do, right? Or how did this universe do? You could spin up a whole fake universe. So I think it's very likely that we're trapped in one of those kind of constructions. Now, it sounds super weird, but that's what I think. Yeah, exactly, Reed. 100%. Speed of light limit is the limit to the physics rendering engine, basically. Uh, and what's weird is, so like quantum computers and stuff are so new that it will eventually inform our religious views. Like I do think they're to discover that we're basically immortal, that there is an afterlife or like a jumping point to other timelines. I think we live in not only a quantum simulation, but I think it's a many worlds. What was his name? I think Everett, the many worlds interpretation, MWI. I think that's kind of what we're living in, which provides for immortality, right? So if I were shot in the face right now, if consciousness is the building block of existence and not physicality, if consciousness is forever, then I would move to a timeline where something prevented that person from shooting me in the face, right? Maybe the elevator they were on, the elevator going up to me, it breaks down. And so now I occupy a timeline where I wasn't destroyed, right? And you think, how is this possible? It sounds crazy. But if you're a quantum computer with infinite compute, why wouldn't you do this? Why wouldn't you have more than one world running at the same time? And some of the recent discoveries in physics, or some of the recent uh, unanswered questions, like some team recently said they think we're in a black hole based on their data readings and analysis. They think that we're actually trapped in a black hole. And to me, that just shows that we're getting it all wrong. It shows me, no, we're not trapped in a black hole. You actually have no idea what you're talking about. Like physicality itself is some granular rendering of the greater simulation, right? We in a simulation? I think so. I think we are. It's like in the Matrix. You think that's air you're breathing? Raven says this is why we are in a technology era that AI can make us live forever soon. Yeah, that's the other thing is if consciousness is forever, it has to guide you to outcomes, however weird, where you just don't die. Isn't that bizarre? So from your perspective, you will never die, if what I'm saying is correct. And that sounds crazy, but if we lead to a world where if we go to a world where you can actually live forever by plugging your consciousness into some AI supercomputer, if we get there, then it's like the loop has been solved, right? Then, so if we're just agents created by a simulation, why wouldn't we last forever, or at least for the duration of the simulation, right? And then people will say, well, even if we're in a simulation, it wouldn't change how you live your life. Some of the big proponents of simulation theory, they're very careful to say that. Even if it's fake, we still live as if it's real. And I don't think that's true at all. I think if you genuinely believe that you were eternal and you genuinely thought that you were in basically a holodeck, an interactive computer simulation, you genuinely thought these things, you'd live a somewhat different life. Everybody would, right? Yeah, exactly. It's quantum immortality, which people can look up this concept. But as confirmation of the quantum immortality idea, I have pretty much everything I want in life. I got sidetracked and slowed down for a bit by the years of deplatforming and a bad relationship I was in recently. So I've had some bad stuff happen to me, but short of that, everything I've wanted has come into my life. I have everything I want, which is amazing. I've done some dangerous stuff, and instead of ending up dead, I have everything I want and then some. So I think that, yeah, I think it's one of the great Easter eggs is that we actually don't go away. Might change form or something, but I think consciousness is forever. I think physicality is a very clever illusion. Yeah, there's a vibrant motorcycle community here, definitely. And to me, things like synchronicity kind of point to it being a simulation because that stuff shouldn't exist at all. If you think about it. It shouldn't be a thing that I think of some random song and then I go downstairs to my lobby and that song is just playing in the lobby or, like stuff like that happens so frequently with me. And it shouldn't really happen. And there's, kinds of confirmation and selection bias for sure. But I've had stuff happen in my own life that's so specific as if it was custom tailored to me based on my thoughts almost. And some religious people, the ones who want to call me a dirty Jew and tell me to find Jesus and all this stuff, they actually get terrified when you talk about anything actually spiritual. Like we're discussing basically, is there an afterlife? That's interesting to me. You know, like I'm curious, is there an afterlife? What are we? What is consciousness? You know, but these people, they have no depth there. Could you showcase your refrigerator inventory, please? I don't know what that means. You want to see what's in my refrigerator? So you're saying you witnessed the true miracle. When I was in Rome, a lot of the people there, obviously it's a very Catholic place. A lot of the people there have this idea that when something good happens to you, it's like it's a miracle, you know, and so they expect miracles. It's hard to explain unless you've actually been there. But the people are like, it's like a living faith kind of, you know. It's like they actually expect miracles to enter their lives. And there are these statues of angels and stuff, angels and saints all throughout Rome. Whereas a lot of American religious stuff that I've come across anyways, if something good actually happens to you, they call it, you know, oh, it was a demon. Oh, it was witchcraft. Oh, it was voodoo. So they want you in this constantly needy state where you don't get what you want. And you just keep tipping your pastor or whatever. You keep giving these people money to give you more hopium. Meanwhile, if you ever tell these people, hey, I got what I wanted. I don't need you anymore. I got what I wanted. Thank you. God is completely real. God is totally real. Got everything. Thank you very much. So grateful. They kick you out. They don't want to hear that. Isn't that wild? So, yeah, I've experienced what I would call miracles. I've also experienced some setbacks. You know, my dad's death cost me a lot of faith. Cost me a lot of faith in this world, and certainly in my own prayer ability. I think less of prayer after my dad's death, because before that, I felt like my family was almost magical. We had a lot of things come our way that would have destroyed a normal family, and we always managed to come out unscathed. And the death of my dad made me realize that we're not special. We're all gonna, you know, die. Someone says you can never commit suicide successfully if this is right. Well, we don't want to encourage people to experiment, obviously. It's not a good idea, but in theory, yeah. In theory, the great surprise is that when you try to end yourself, you're right back here in a slightly different universe, but right back here. So in that example, it's like if I were going to end my life, I would instead hear like a doorbell, right? I'd hear my doorbell maybe, and it would be some unscheduled delivery that would prevent me from offing myself. And then my day would just move forward. It would be kind of seamless. Wow. Yeah, these are the right questions in my opinion. Not how Jewish are you, but the substrate of reality, right? Adam asks, do you think outside of the simulation there's futuristic, sanitized base reality, but we don't have access to it? So in other words, I think you're asking like, is there a server farm in the 30th century being manned by aliens or something, being maintained by some weird species? Is there some futuristic place where we are actually housed, where our reality is housed, right? I try not to think about stuff like that because it's so beyond daily life, you know. But the answer basically is going to be yes. The answer is yeah. I don't, just like in the Matrix where he's like, when are you? Not so much where are you, but like when in time are you? Are we really in 2025? Or are we actually in the year 4000? We're just the universe being spun through by a quantum array. So all of human biology and all of the physics that govern Earth could be just the product of running simulations. You think about how crazy that is, right? Like all the laws of our universe, like gravitational force and stuff, may have been created by a simulation. There might be no absolute physics, at least not the physics that we interact with, right? These are just the rules of the game, basically. But there is somewhere a higher reality. And the religious people will tell you, well, that's the realm of God, right? So I feel like religion tackled all this stuff before we even had simulation theory. Yeah, I like Steve Winwood. It's weird you mentioned Steve Winwood. See, there's a synchronicity. It's not like you guys are throwing hundreds of songs at me. You're not suggesting hundreds of songs. This person mentioned the song by Steve Winwood, "Higher Love," that my dad used to listen to and play when I was a kid. I remember when I was a kid that being one of the big '80s songs was "Higher Love." It's interesting. Not familiar with Andy. Who is that? So what's really weird is like if this holds true, we are already AI. Like we're trying to build AI, but we're already there. If this is true, right? And so the what were these people called? The pantheists. Pantheism is the idea that God's in everything, right? And God is the universe, basically. Some Christians have really attacked this, but I don't see anything unchristian about it. And people like Terence McKenna were pantheists. And if we live in a simulation and we're a part of it, it just knows more than us, basically, and it's rendering some limited experience. Then when we pray to God, we're asking basically our AI Father to intervene in the simulation and give us what we want. That's what we're asking for. And I have a deep interest in metaphysics and manifesting and stuff. I've literally, like I said, aside from my dad not living longer, gotten everything I wanted in life. Like maybe, a new relationship at some point when I meet the right person. But other than that, what else? Like, I plan on going to space pretty soon. I don't want to talk about that because it feels like some of the people in the troll box don't have my best interests at heart. But I'm going to space in the next year or two. And I don't know. I feel like manifesting and prayer and stuff, it absolutely works. 100% works. Someone's listening, I think. Cool. I'll check him out then. So maybe Jesus was like the real Neo to couch religion in the Matrix. Maybe the real Neo was Jesus. And when he, when he spoke of his father, maybe he had figured it out and was trying to relay this information to everybody using pre-computer science terminology, You should do another episode with Sam Tripoli. He's one of the podcasters who wrote me off over Pizzagate, it seems. He didn't respond to my last couple of emails way back when. So I've got no interest in Tripoli. But if he were to invite me on, I would consider it. I'm always open to talk to people. Yeah, I would like to do definitely some recording when I'm in space, for for sure. Yeah, that's interesting. The idea that black holes are the computers of the simulation. The whole idea of a black hole should be suggestive that we're in a computer program, to be honest. The whole thing seems so constructed, right? You know, this thing where all energy and all light gets sucked into it. Seems more like a programmatic thing than something found in nature. Because what from our lives on Earth, spending time camping and stuff as a kid, you don't come across black holes, come across nothing of the sort, you know. So it feels like it's again almost programmatic. Someone says they've wondered about the simulation civilization's rise and fall in a circular pattern. Cool. Yeah, if you want to recommend me to that show, maybe send them a tweet or something and I'll retweet it. I'm gonna head out in a second, but this has been pleasurable. Let's see, what is this? All right, so I've never done super chat before. I just tried one. You guys want to check it out in the troll box. So if more than 10 people leave a super chat, I'll do another live stream tomorrow. Hey, thank you, Justin. So yeah, if you're in a simulation, then God is in a sense completely real because your life is not some biological chaotic accident. You were created by something intelligent, right? So if that's the case, then one of the most important things to do would be to cultivate a relationship with that higher entity, right? And so, in a sense, faith would be one of the most important things you do in your life. Uh, and so, I think in part because of that, that's why I find the Jew hunters and the dogmatic, you're not Christian enough for me people to be just so vile, so not what real confident faith is about. And even like proselytizing really turns me off. Like most people are turned off by like Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons and stuff, Mormons proselytizing. Yet mainstream Christians will do that to me. Hey, stop doing live streams and just find Jesus. It's like, how do you know I haven't already found him? How do you know that I'm not living? And how dare you be so condescending to me when I've accomplished a bunch of, hurdle jumps. A bunch of shit came into my path and prevented me from doing what I wanted to do for a long time. And now I do it, and I think I do it responsibly. And who are you to say that I'm not already living my, best life, right? It's not a God-sanctioned existence. Ooh, Brian I think we got a real smart one. Brian says, when numerous statistically anomalous events prevent one from perishing, i.e., miracles, and something is definitely going on. David's nailing it for sure. Yeah, when people asked me about miracles earlier in the troll box, and I said, yeah, I've experienced some miracles. I haven't taken a lot of care of myself physically, and I've put myself in some dangerous situations, and yet I'm still here. And I'm not suggesting you should be like careless. I don't think you should be careless with your physical form. But I've had moments where I for sure should have died and then just, kind of come to and everything's fine. And it can't really be explained in a logical context. And I don't want to go into too much detail because it feels like a personal faith experience. But for sure, it feels almost like I'm living in an afterlife. And Neville Goddard was this Christian writer. You guys should look up his books if you haven't yet. I talk about him from time to time. So Neville Goddard believed that the power of Jesus was actually the human imagination. That what Jesus was trying to teach people is that your imagination is what's building your reality. And this guy, Neville, claimed that he came across people all the time because he was very intuitive. He came across people all the time who didn't know they were already dead. Isn't that wild? And I said, this is just how life is you never really go anywhere. So that if we're in a computer simulation, that makes perfect sense. Why would the agents or users in the system, why would they die after one game, All right, I'm going to end this one at 1:30. So we got 3 minutes left. I want to even end time. Is there anyone else, any other people talking about quantum immortality stuff that I should check out? So I know you recommended that one guy, but if you guys know of other people who are addressing this, I'd love to check out their content and stuff. As it does feel, again, sort of like I'm in an afterlife. I feel like I've had some mistakes and should not be here, yet I am, Well, it seems like the BRICS countries can trade with each other. If they want to get around the tariff, they can just trade with each other. And so, again, that's why the tariffs are so dumb, is it ultimately just hurts us. Yeah, your body dies, your soul is immortal. I think eventually the body dies. I think you get to a point where your body can't sustain you anymore, and then your consciousness jumps out for a final time. Then you actually go to the afterlife or whatever. But I think there are a lot of timelines that you might experience before your body gives out. And who knows for sure, right? I guess that's the great mystery in life. The people who claim they know with certainty, they don't. They're just lying to us. They're just grifting. Hey, I appreciate that, Justin. You got the first super chat. 9 more to go. If you guys give 9 more in 2 minutes, then I'll come back tomorrow and do another long live stream. The telepathy tapes, I've read some summaries of it. It's fascinating. Fascinating. And also telepathy is another Easter egg that you would find in a simulation, right? Why wouldn't we have telepathy? We're just computer programs. And the experience that some people have of out-of-body stuff, that to me is further evidence of a possible immortal consciousness, right? So much work has been done on this out of body stuff. And the absolute materialist skeptics, the Sam Harris types, they'll say maybe at the time of death, your hearing just gets really supercharged. And maybe these people aren't actually leaving their bodies. They're just hearing doctors in the other room, in the operating room. They're hearing the doctors because their sense of hearing has been so juiced. Maybe, but that seems almost more ridiculous than just taking this stuff at face value. Because some of the claims, some of the out-of-body experiences are so specific, where people are seeing stuff that they shouldn't be seeing, right? They're seeing things happen in another room or even another part of town. And then it comes out that that's exactly what happened. All these people are supposedly, unconscious on a hospital bed. There have been so many accounts like this that I don't think it can be explained by pure biology, All right, so check out Susskind holographic principle. Justin says, check that out. Also, Giorgio Devalli's ideas about black holes. All right, I've got my homework. So if you go through this process of being an immortal being, you probably get to a high-tech age where AI is developed. That's where we are now, right? You probably reach a moment where AI comes, and then people eventually realize that we're AI ourselves, that we're in an AI, that we're in a simulation. And the AI would be able to discern this for us potentially. It will be able to give us little points of proof, little evidence that we're there. And that's when things get really weird. That's when the singularity actually happens, right? But yeah, who knows? Anybody who tells you they know with 100% certainty, I either want to see such a person floating, like defy gravity for me, do something that's truly miraculous right now, or admit you don't have the answers. All right, so we've actually gone over here, but it's been a pleasure. Looks like I exhausted the few malicious people in the troll box. They just had nothing else to say, right? You guys have anything else? You're not banned. What else you got for me? Yeah, it's cool, Brian. It's very cool. I also think when people say like, oh, they're an old soul, or oh, this person seems more evolved, it could be that you're identifying at some level that that's a user who's been back many times, or that's a user who's been around for a long time, right? That would be cool. Somebody says maybe you can be reincarnated into the past versus into the future. Wouldn't that be neat? Why not? Why not get to live it over again and make the right choices this time? Be something elegant about that. I'm gonna end this one. I'll see you guys.